violated on my way here.
That's why the guy over there is,
Oh, no, that's all right, yeah.
he's getting your number on the cell phone.
Allegedly, supposedly.
We're going to get the meeting started. I just want to first, I'm going to be the chairman tonight. John Frostacci's not here. Just take note of the exits here. You have one in the back and one behind you over there. Let's do the pledge of allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, in a moment of silence for our military folks. Okay, thank you. Okay. All right. The first item on the agenda is Duchess Contracting Corporation. Oh, I see.
Good evening.
My understanding is they're requesting an adjournment to the next meeting.
Yes, we're trying to just finish up all outstanding comments, public comments, and make a really nice, complete, well-drafted plan set that we can all hang our hat on.
Okay. Is there any new information to report?
Nothing yet. We're still waiting for the traffic consultant to get back to us with the DOT. My understanding is DOT's got quite a lag time on their turnaround, a couple months so far, so. A couple
Okay.
different professionals, a lot of moving parts. Sometimes things just take a little more time than anticipated.
I see. Dan, is there anything you want to add?
No, not at this point. No new information submitted, so.
Okay.
Do we need a motion to delay it to the 40th?
I believe so. Can I have an emotion? An emotion.
It's okay.
And give
You'll
us
get
a
through
motion.
this.
Emotionally, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn the public hearing for Duchess Contracting till the meeting on 4/17.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, aye for me as well, so unanimous. Okay, thank you. We'll meet with you on the 14th. We're going to have a public hearing. You're going to be there on the 14th to present the project? 17th, 4/17.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll have a public hearing on 4/17. Do they need to provide any more cards? The meeting remains open, they don't have to...
Meetings were open, yeah.
All right, so we'll put it on the website that there's a public hearing will be on...
Is it going to be a realistic
April 17th.
date?
I have the best of intentions of making that date as soon as I can make sure we get current information that's adheres to all the comments we have thus far, to make sure that you and the public both get everything we have.
Okay, all right, so yeah, just please be prepared. We want to open it up to the public and give them an opportunity to speak on your application.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Jace, how's absent? And then what about the general?
Okay, the next item on the agenda is Pellegrino lot line adjustment. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Baker Estates, apologize. I was about to move you ahead, but... All right, so if you could, I think we gave you some homework from the last meeting, if you could report back to us on that, and then give us any other information.
Yep, primarily from the public hearing comments, we put a table on the plan identifying the number of trees to be removed for the project. And we also addressed engineering comments with Dan's letter. There really were no changes to the plan as far as what we're proposing and the layout or anything like that. And at this point, we only have some minor engineering to complete and go to the health department to get the septic systems and the wells approved.
Okay. I'm going to open it up to the town engineers or anything, any comments you want to make, or is there anything we're still waiting for from the applicant?
No, at this point, they basically need the preliminary to be able to go to the health department formally and get that review underway, so that, and at the same time, we now have the appropriate weather now where we can go out and do the soils testing for the stormwater practices, so.
Right. Can you just give us a quick summary on the table for the trees?
We put up, we just had it here. So the table we added to the trees, in this approximately 7.5 acres of disturbance for the 6 lots. There's 186 trees that need to be removed that are 8 inches to 12 inches, 192 trees, 13, 18 inches, and 154, 19 plus. The lots, or the property is thick.
Yeah. And these trees are limited to the
disturbance
the
area,
disturbance area, that hasn't changed?
correct.
Okay,
And the disturbance area has been minimized to just include the areas necessary to build the driveways, grade the lot for the homes, the septic systems, install the well, and to construct the stormwater management system, which is a little bit larger, given the drainage that exists on the site. And then, again, we also proposed additional trees as mitigation, and we also proposed a very large conservation easement, which will protect the balance of the property from being disturbed in the future.
okay. Do I have any comments from the board members?
No.
Okay. So the next step is to,
There were a few things we had listed that you may want to consider doing procedurally tonight. The first one was there was a duplicate lead agency designation at the last meeting, so you can consider rescinding that because you were already the lead agency.
oh,
Yeah, I wrote you a proposed motion.
is that this?
That's that.
All right, I'm going to make a motion to rescind the prior declaration of lead agency at the February 20th, 2025 meeting as a redundant action of this board's prior adoption of the same at the January 16th, 2025 meeting.
I'll second.
Discussion? So you realize what happened, we declared lead agency notice twice, so we have to rescind the last one. So, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
The second thing I had mentioned in there was, kind of reviewing that tree removal table, which you already just did. The third was consider making a secret determination. So we prepared a part 2 and 3 of the short EAF for your consideration. And we also sent you the part 1, which was prepared by the applicant as well in preparation of the meeting.
You're in concurrence with the part, well, the part one's usually generated, auto-filled, right, by the,
A decent amount of it is, but there's still a lot of work that they put into the part 1 as well. And so then, it's up to the lead agency to go through the part 2 and 3 for secret purposes, So there's the 11 categories to go through.
right,
Let's start on part 2 there.
right. Have you guys had a chance to review the part 2? Would you like to go over line by line?
I definitely did not get a chance to review it.
Okay.
It's probably best to go through it
Yeah.
line
Line
by
by line?
line.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations? They responded no. I would concur with that. Will the proposed action result in change in the use of intensity? Will the proposed action result in a change in the use of intensity of use of land? No or small impact. Will the proposed, and then just stop me if you want to discuss something in more detail. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a CEA, critical environmental area? Do you know if this is designated a critical environmental area?
It's not. It is not.
Okay. Will the
And that's an autofill from the part one. That is one of the autofills, yeah.
Right. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affecting existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? I mean, it's only 7 lots, right?
6.
Yeah, it's 6 against the
lots.
existing road.
So it's not a tremendous amount of additional traffic. I would agree. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? Again, because it's a small subdivision, I'm not sure that it would have any kind of major impact, moderate or large impact to the use of energy. It's only 7 houses. Will the proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies, public or private wastewater treatment utilities?
It's not applicable.
Not really applicable, it's not connecting to any public water supply or private. They're all handled with their own well and septic, correct?
Correct.
Will the proposed action impair the quality or the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, or aesthetic resources? Did anything kick back when
No.
with historic and archaeological?
Nothing with SHPO or anything like that,
Nope.
right?
Okay.
That's an autofill also.
Yeah.
So the state, when they do the EAF mapper, said no on that as well.
Okay.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic did I just read that?
Yes.
Sorry. Will the proposed action result in the adverse change to the natural resources, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna? So this one was, we were worried about wetlands and water bodies, and, how did you mitigate that effect?
We kept all the houses away from the wetland area, which is towards the back of the property. So we kept everything as far forward as we can to minimize additional disturbances. We also included the conservation easement over the property, which protects all the land in the back, which is adjacent to the wetlands. And even though the town only has a 50-foot buffer, we made sure that the conservation easement was a minimum of 100 feet to the wetland, and in most cases, it's far more than 100 feet, like several hundred feet.
Okay, I mean, I've recognized that in past meetings as acceptable. I mean, we're actually the impetus for him doing that, so. So I concur no impact, no or small impact. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? Maybe just a quick summary on how it,
Again, we designed a stormwater, a pretty intricate stormwater management system to collect all the runoff, not only from the homes and the impervious areas for the project, as well as off-site runoff. And we've designed stormwater treatment to treat the stormwater before it drains to the back of the lot towards the existing stream. And the design was done in accordance with New York State DEC stormwater regulations. So we exceed the
And you're
minimum.
showing erosion controls?
We have a whole erosion control plan. And again, that's in accordance with all the SWIP requirements.
And you're in concurrence with their plan for, that it meets the New York State stormwater practices?
Yeah, and like we were saying before, they have to do some soils testing to prove all that as well, but there are other options, even if the stormwater testing doesn't prove out what we expect, but.
We did do some preliminary test holes, and what we found was actually found the soil's better than what I designed to from the soil maps. So, we're not expecting any change to what
Okay,
is there.
perfect. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources for human health? Can you just explain what that means for human health, what the impact, is that something that, what
I
are we
don't see
supposed to
that we're
consider?
creating anything with this project that would impact human health.
Yeah, a lot of that question has to do with solid and hazardous wastes,
Yeah,
which aren't typically, associated with a residential project like this.
or contaminated soils and things like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, and there's no evidence of that, so I'm okay with part 2. And then part 3 is just elaborating on some of the things that you were just discussing, which is, how the stormwater pollution prevention plan is providing mitigation stormwater measures, how you've already explained your tree mitigation measures, which is explained in part 3. We talked about the groundwater impacts, so to me, it seems like, and then there's also the Indiana bat issue, which you are restricting the clearing to the time periods that will impact the Indiana bat. How does that get restricted on the drawings? It's in
Yep, there's a note on the drawings.
I see. Okay. Okay, so I feel like this adequately, describes the mitigation measures for the impacts, which are small to begin with. All right, so do we need to make a motion to accept the seeker or to accept the negative declaration?
Yeah, if that's where the board wants to go with it, it sounds to me that that's the direction you're heading at this point, so you could vote on a negative declaration.
Is there any other discussion on the seeker? Do you guys have anything else?
Makes sense to me.
No, it looks good.
Okay, I'll make a motion to declare a negative declaration, accept the seeker as a negative declaration. How exactly do I say it? I'm declaring negative declaration? Or,
Yeah, there's a few different ways, I guess you could say that there will be no significant adverse environmental impacts associated with the project, and that an environmental impact statement is not required for the project, and thereby you're issuing a negative declaration.
you want to
Very well said.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. What else do we want to discuss? Was there a fourth?
Yeah, there
thing?
was another,
Yeah,
Great action.
preliminary subdivision approval
yeah.
Okay, that's the,
for your consideration.
what comes after just to remind me, what's after the preliminary sub? Do you come back?
Correct.
Just to report on the testing and your procedure with the health department?
Right, we would come back to the board for final approval after the Board of Health is ready to issue a final approval. And they won't actually issue the final approval, they won't issue their approval until we have a final Mylar, which we can't create until after this board issues final approval. But what we'll do is, we'll go through the Board of Health, we'll get to a point where we'll have a comment letter from them, basically saying, we have no more comments, we're ready to approve this thing, you just need to give us a file map. And then that would demonstrate to this board that we've reached the point where the health department's ready to approve it, we just would need final approval at that point. And that, we would also come in for final approval with all the soil testing and the absolute final design of the SWIP.
And in the event that you discover, and I know you've already done some preliminary testing, so it's unlikely, but you discover that the soils aren't amenable for, let's say, septic,
Yeah.
the septics, or what you were hoping to get for your stormwater treatments, do you then come back to us with a modified plan?
I guess that would, yeah, I mean, ultimately, these lots are rather large, so we do have some room to slide. Like, for example, if we dug a test hole and hit rock, and we needed to move this, it wouldn't work where we have it shown. We would have to shift the septic system on the lot to another location. But being that these lots are very large, you know, I don't anticipate that septic systems wouldn't be able to be approved. And we did do soil tests, and I can tell you, we went down the maximum depth that you need to go, or the minimum depth that you need to go for a septic system in accordance with the health department standards, and we did not hit any water, and we did not hit any rock, and the soils they were actually very consistent with the soil maps. And I don't see any
I
issue.
don't think there's any rock in the area. I don't think there's any ledge in the area.
But the bottom line is we wouldn't be able to move forward with the lots if we can't get Board of Health approval.
Okay. The only, and I may have mentioned this at last meetings, do you have tree protection measures for the areas that we're
Yes.
not disturbing
Yep.
trees? So I'll just want to make sure that they're on before the final approval, that they're protecting the existing trees that are not being disturbed. So our code enforcement officer can ensure compliance. All right, I mean, in my opinion, there's been a lot of really good work done here. You've been with us going through this process since even before you were the previous, it started off with the previous engineer. I'm in a position where I feel like they've progressed the drawing sufficient for preliminary plat approval. So I'm going to make a motion for preliminary plat approval.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, that passes 3-0.
Okay, thank
I
you.
think that's it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Good night.
Bill, when you do those soils tests, just give us a call, and we'll come on out and witness some of the, for the stormwater and,
Right, I'm gonna do all that when I get wait for the health department to come out.
Yeah.
So in the next few weeks, I think the weather's gonna be good for them, and I'll let you know.
yep, thanks.
All right, thank you.
Great. Okay, next on the agenda, Pellegrino lot line. I get it right this time?
Exactly. Good evening, Kyle Ahern with LaBella Associates. Tom Kerrigan, my colleague, wasn't able to make it tonight, so I'm stepping in for him. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, who is the homeowners who reside at the property in question, Leslie and Anthony Pellegrino. Since the last meeting that Tom had been at, a few updates on the plans to go over. The access maintenance agreement for Cottage Road was provided to the town. I believe Mr. Wallace is reviewing that. It shows essentially that the Cottage Road access is the road from which the homeowners have access that they contribute towards the maintenance of. So that has been closed out with the Fire Advisory Board, in addition to a note that was added to the plan about the plot plan being submitted to them for further review in the event there's any changes to the driveway location at that point.
I'd just like to add to that point that Lot 1 is not covered by that road maintenance agreement. And I'm recommending to the board that as a condition of any approvals, Lot 1 be joined into that road maintenance agreement so that all lot owners on Cottage Road are subject to the road maintenance agreement. I can't imagine that the other owners will not agree to that condition because it would pro rata be bringing their cost within that road maintenance agreement down.
Is Lot 2,
Lot 2 is owned as well it's under common ownership. So part of Lot 2 that's going to Lot 1 is subject already to that road maintenance agreement. And it's a
I
party
see.
to the road maintenance agreement.
so just by approving this lot line realignment, Lot 1 won't be a party to that agreement unless we include it as a condition of approval?
It's not a party to the agreement right now.
Yeah,
And I think it was the parent parcel, I guess, to Baker Road Associates when it was created. They owned like 6 of these 11 lots that were subject to the road maintenance agreement, and for some reason didn't include themselves on the road maintenance agreement as a party.
Hmm.
So this is a good opportunity to right or wrong.
yeah. Would you have any objection to that?
I don't know if the homeowners would have an objection. I mean, the lot line adjustment itself doesn't create a new situation. It's an existing situation on an existing home. So I don't know if they would, I can ask if they would have an objection to that.
All of the parties that signed off on it, who individually own lots, they're still the lot owners according to the parcel access in Dutchess County Clerk's office. The only lots that were not under ownership were the ones that were sold by Baker to individual lot owners since 2015. So those are the ones, I would venture to guess they're not going to have a problem signing a new road maintenance agreement whereby their pro rata shares for maintenance go down. So it's a cost-effective measure for everybody. It's a win-win.
Yeah, I concur with the town attorney. I think this is a good idea that every owner, any lot using that private road should all be contributing to the maintenance of that road. And that the fact that one of them is not in the agreement is probably a mistake. We need to have them, we need to have all the lots on that road a party to the maintenance agreement. I live on a private road myself, and that's how we do it. There's a maintenance agreement, it's connected to our deed, and we all understand that we're partly responsible for maintaining the road. So I would like to require that as a condition. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
Yeah, I'll go along with your line of thought. Hey, Dan?
Yes.
Is this the one that the Fire Advisory Board made a comment on?
Yeah, so the driveway was, it kind of snakes down into the lot because there's some topography to overcome. And the Fire Advisory Board met on it, and they said they wouldn't be able to bring a fire truck down the driveway. That said, they said they reluctantly would say that they would stage up on Cottage and pull lines down to the lot.
You know, the alternative is to do the driveway off of Dill Hill.
Yeah, they talked about that, but one of the factors that kind of went into that discussion was the fact that there is that road maintenance agreement that this lot pays for Cottage. So
Excuse me, say that again?
this particular lot pays into the road maintenance agreement for Cottage. So if they weren't getting the benefit of coming off of Cottage, if they came off of Dill Hill, I think that was,
And I believe the issue with the fire access is that last little turn right before the garage. The rest of the driveway should be accessible.
But they also can't park on, you know,
an
9%
incline.
grade.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they would normally have an apparatus operating area, a certain dimension, and then no more than 5%.
Right.
So,
It seems as though,
Yeah,
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
regardless of the agreement for the road, because if you come in off Dill Hill, it's flat ground.
it's a lot flatter down there, yes, that's
Yes, it
true.
is.
Yeah.
And I would think that it would make more sense to, from looking at it, my first impression is, when I looked at it, was that the only reason that the driveway is coming off of there is because there's a pre-existing entrance and that's it.
I don't think that there's an existing entrance there.
Yes, there is.
I don't know if it was shown on the map that way, but,
This may not be shown on the map, but when you go on site,
yeah.
you can locate where things are because there is, so to speak, a pre-existing entrance, be it the same way as a entrance to a field or something.
You're talking
Person-
essentially about a
personal-
short apron, you know, maybe 20 feet in, or?
Excuse me?
What are we talking as far as existing
Well, I'm talking,
entrance?
you can
Like a-
notice the apron, thank you, the apron from the road.
Okay.
My personal, forgetting the road maintenance agreement, from a practical point of view, if I were a homeowner, I'd prefer to come in off Dill Hill. If you come in on a straight shot, it's level ground, you're not fooling around, maneuvering vehicle, and actually from a firematic point of view, it would make more sense. You'd have the accessibility.
Question two. House, is right now between the proposed driveway and the road is like, I'm assuming all wooded?
Yeah,
haven't been to the site.
the whole site is wooded at the
Okay,
moment,
so
yes.
are you clearing that? Because how are you gonna drag 100 feet of line from that road all the way into the house if it's on fire?
It's fairly open, Jason. There may be trees there, but if I remember correctly, let's put it this way, it is not densely wooded. It is not as densely wooded as the lots on Greenhaven, Beekman, Oakwood.
Yeah, I know where you are.
um,
I know that.
On Beekman Road and Greenhaven Road. I think it's less dense.
Okay.
Is it less wooded on one side of the lawn or the other, or
Excuse me?
is it less wooded on one side of the lawn as opposed to the other, or is it equally distributed? the
No,
wood-
I think it's fairly even distributed, Rob, if I remember correctly. It's been a couple months since I've been up there and looked.
Mhm.
But I know that when I did take a look at it, I was thinking that, you know, the accessibility,
Mhm.
I mean, there's other things that come into play if you're considering Dill Hill as your access. I mean, your house isn't really going to move based on the septic field. You would still want it to flow by gravity instead of having a pump station. So you would still have a similar location. Your driveway would be straighter, but it would be longer. You're not going to have really any kind of backyard if you do that. It'll just be the hill behind the house. Whereas currently you have a pretty usable backyard the way it's configured.
That's pretty, I'm looking at those lines, it looks steep. Right?
excuse me?
Does it look steep for where the driveway is if I'm looking at the lines there?
It is, but it's almost as if it was a road bank, if I'm trying to describe it properly. The drop-off may be steep, but it's a short lateral distance.
Okay.
If I
The map shows 100.
remember correctly, where the apron is, Jason, the apron is noticeable, and you can see where you can imagine in your mind where the cut would want to be for the road.
I'm just imagining though, like this, according to this, is about 100, I'm gonna say 104, 103.04 feet. So I'm just imagining if you're staging up here, I mean, it's been a minute since I did that, but if you stage up here and had to drag all the way down.
All right, well, let me ask you a question. It says here Board of Health approval extended. What does that mean? Is this already, has the septic system been approved already?
Yeah, so it was approved originally a number of years ago, and then last year, it was extended. So essentially, an application's made to the Department of Health. They determined that their requirements haven't changed, and that it still meets all of their requirements. So it is extended, so they have approval for another 3 years from that point.
And there was a curb cut approval for a driveway off of Cottage Road, correct?
Was that part of I haven't reviewed the agreement, the maintenance agreement. Was that part of that?
Not from the town,
Oh,
but
yeah, it's,
Because of private road.
I'm just saying, Peter,
You can
that
still-
the septic's approved already, so
You can, yeah, but you look at the lot, and there's room between certainly room between the septic and the lot line.
and between the road, you're saying?
And
If you traverse down here.
So you'd be shifting the house to the other side, but now you'd have to,
why would you shift the house?
if you're saying leave the house in place and then have the driveway run all the way to the back, to the house
could even
from,
shift it downhill.
Well, it's running to the back of the house as it is it not?
Is it an in-ground system, do you know? The
Is it,
approval?
sorry, is it what?
In-ground septic system that was
Yes.
approved?
I don't think it's a fill pad.
I mean, you could shift the house further down that way too then.
the house? That's what I'm saying, is like, if you put the house,
It could still be above, but you could be further down.
it could still be
Which would
above.
lessen the driveway length, that's
Right.
all.
You can shift it slightly closer, but you're not going to end up with a large backyard.
But you can't have it on the opposite side, closer to the Dill Hill
You
Road?
could, but you'd have to pump up.
Then you'd have to
that.
pump up.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just slight grade, not
yeah,
much
which
grade.
we do want gravity when we can.
Can you, is there latitude to shift the septic field one way or another? Or
Not
that'll open up a whole new
without
approval?
retesting and reapproval.
That's the approval, yeah.
I don't see where that would be a
If you did-
problem in putting in a driveway. What's the,
So if you have to put a driveway in from Dill Hill Road
Probably.
and maintain the existing location of the septic, unless you're shifting the house to this side of the septic, you're making a fairly long driveway over to the house.
so what? So what?
It makes it much more expensive.
That is not our concern.
Okay.
Well, the expense is just one part. It's not as ideal. I mean, there's different opinions on what's ideal from a homeowner standpoint, but in our opinion, it's less ideal from a backyard standpoint is the main thing. I mean, I also just want to reiterate, the steep slopes we're talking about are not the steepest slopes. We're talking about primarily the range between 15 and 25%. The driveway is less than 10% in grade, which is not flat by any means, but it's not going to win any awards for the steepest driveway. The overall disturbance within those steep slopes, we're talking about 0.05 of an acre. It's not a large area. So, I mean, it is the homeowner's, preferred layout. It does work well with the approved DOH system. So for those reasons, it's the system we think makes most sense. Plus, as we talked about, the maintenance agreement that they have on Cottage Road.
What if they opened up the belly of the elbow there, that turning area, for somebody to get a truck in there to stage?
If we can widen that bottom
So it's not so
curve,
tight.
I think that would be doable, because we also, it could wrap further back towards Cottage once you get past those steep slopes, and that should allow us to widen that turn there.
What do you think?
I'd like to delay this and ask the members of the board to go out and take a look at the lot. You know, the problem with a piece of apparatus on, a piece of fire apparatus on a driveway is that you've got the nose depending, what doesn't matter whether it's a ladder truck or an engine, you have to be cognizant of the side clearance, and actually, we do have in the regulations, minimums for side clearance, and you have to have overhead clearance. And especially if you're gonna try to get a ladder truck in, at this point, it's not the first due, but if you have a structure fire and wanna bring something in for access to a second story, you've gotta be able to get that ladder that is sticking out, maybe 4 to 5 feet over the nose of the truck. You've gotta be able to get that around through the trees.
No, I understand, that's why I was saying, if we open the belly, you'd be able to run your outriggers out on the thing to level the truck and
Well,
still
not
swing
so
in,
much.
right?
I'm thinking of just driving in,
Oh, I got you.
you know, I'm just thinking of driving in.
So-
That's-
But that's a steeper grade there, too.
Huh?
The initial part of the driveway is steeper.
A little steeper, but that's no big thing, I don't believe.
It's 9.8%.
That's right at our threshold.
At the fire advisory board, they said, they talked about, volume and the tank and everything but the 5% that's in the code was important to them.
Okay,
So the,
is there any reason why we cannot delay this and
don't-
people can go out
So-
and take a look at the lot from both sides? I mean,
Well, can I propose this? I don't want to dismiss your concerns. You make a lot of very valid points. Can you come back to us with an alternative solution that addresses Peter's concerns? Either review another solution that provides access to Dill Hill Road, and that'll give us a month to run out there and have a look at the lot. How do you feel about that?
I can't answer that for the owner as far as Dill Hill, but what I can say is we can propose widening that last turn to make that accessible for a fire truck so they can set up at a flatter grade. I also do want to remind you guys this is not the plot plan. So the fire advisory board said we could set up on Cottage Road if needed. It's not ideal. But what they did have us do to accommodate that is when this is submitted with a plot plan, so when this parcel is purchased and somebody's going to build their house there, they have to submit to the building department the plot plan. This site plan, or this subdivision plat, does require that they submit that to the fire advisory board so they can re-review, make sure that what is ultimately proposed here from the driveway standpoint, it meets any of their concerns at
And
that
if the
point.
fire advisory board decides we don't want the access on this road, they can.
what's
they can-
your concern about Cottage Road?
About Cottage Road or about Dill Hill Road?
Well, I'm under the impression that because they're paying a maintenance agreement or whatever on that's your primary concern. If you don't have,
I don't
you
even
don't
know
have
I don't know
access-
if they have access from Dill Hill. I don't know if they have the rights to tie into Dill Hill. We do know that they have rights off Cottage Road. It's always been contemplated to come off Cottage Road. So we're proposing it where it's the least steep, will have the least impact. And, what was previously approved by not by you guys, but by DOH.
I'm
Okay,
sorry,
thank you.
I
Thank you.
I don't understand.
Well, can I?
Because if I've got a parcel and it borders on 2 roads,
They're private roads.
that's all right.
It's not all right if this private road says you can't come access my road. That's what I wanted to ask.
That's a possibility.
And that's my question.
I mean, you got every single house, proposed house on Cottage Road has access off of Cottage Road. So they're all kind of like, don't stick out as a sore thumb. This property would probably stick out as a sore thumb if it has access off of Dill Road.
You mean if
instead
it's
of Cottage.
facing Dill Road instead of
Exactly.
facing
It would be
Cottage?
face the
But
opposite.
let me ask you something. Let me ask you something. You're coming to us and saying you have permission to be on Cottage Road. Is it plausible, and this is a question to the town attorney and the town engineer, that he goes to all the owners, I guess it's collectively owned, the private road for Dill Hill Road, is there a possibility that they'll deny access to that road?
How can they
Or-
if you border it?
Let me rephrase that. Does he have to get approval from all of those owners on that road in order to access it?
Well, he's already part of a road maintenance agreement right now on Cottage Road. So there is nothing preventing the property owners that are subject to a road maintenance agreement from just saying, you know what, we're not opening up this road, I'm not signing it, for whatever reason. All right? They don't have to sign it. And if that happens, it's like having a light bulb on a Christmas tree that, burned out, and the rest of the,
Good analogy.
doesn't work. So it's the analogy,
Craig,
unfortunately.
are you telling me that because I border on Dill Hill, if I want to come in off Dill Hill, I cannot?
I don't think that it's feasible in this particular situation, because you're gonna have all of these houses on Cottage that are gonna be front-facing the Cottage, and then you're gonna have one house that is front-facing the Dill and rear-facing to Cottage. It's just not gonna fit.
There are other houses on Dill Road.
Yeah, there's a lot on Dill Hill too, but
I mean, they would still be subject, you'd also have them subject to contributing to maintenance of Cottage Road and not even allowing, an access from Cottage Road in that event.
yeah. And it's about 80 more feet of driveway, I figure, coming from Dill Hill, just for
My
purposes of that.
My concern is that he already has the ability he already has an agreement to be on Cottage. We're going to ask him to ask the people who own Dill Hill Road if they'll allow him access on it. And
Okay,
if they don't, then he doesn't have the ability to have access to it.
so you are telling me that legally, because my lot line is on Dill Hill Road. And you're telling me that legally, because I have a lot line there, I cannot access my piece of property from Dill Hill Road. You're telling me that?
Yeah, it's
Well-
private. If it's not,
Legally, I don't-
if it's not a public right-of-way, and it's a private road that's owned by private
wrong?
people, I have people who have a lot line on my private road, and if they came to me tomorrow and said, I'm driving through there, I'm saying, no, the hell, you're not, because it's not your road.
Yeah, that would have been set up when the lot was subdivided, so the lot just doesn't, when it's subdivided, it would have access from a road, but not necessarily anything,
I mean,
bordering
we
it.
can ask him to pursue it, but if the people on that, if one person who's a party to that agreement disagrees, that's it. It doesn't go forward.
But just to go back a little bit, I mean, if the main concern is that the fire access, like I said, we can improve that, and in addition to improving it on this plan, the plot plan will ultimately be reviewed by the fire advisory board at the second time, again, for that.
So, all right, so, I mean, the bottom line is we're reviewing a lot line adjustment. He's saying you get a second bite at the apple, because after we approve this, they still have to submit a plot plan to the town, and it still has to go before the fire board again. So they can deny it at that point. Do you want to hold up for 1 month and then ask him to modify the plan to make it a more favorable solution for emergency fire access?
And remember, we do have to come back, this is not final approval by any means. We still have to, we're seeking sketch plan approval. We would still have to come back for preliminary. We would still have to schedule a public hearing, so there's going to be, additional opportunity to look at this and to review, the changes that we said we can make.
Okay.
Hey, Craig?
Together with the right-of-way over the proposed roads on the north, east, and south side of said parcel
That's
to
for
Baker
which,
Road.
that's for which road? Cottage?
until such time as said proposed roads have been dedicated and accepted by the town of Beekman as
Yeah,
public
but
highways.
they'll never be accepted by
No,
public highways,
no,
so
but-
that's a nullity.
But this is saying that they have a right-of-way on all the roads that borders the property. Their deed says that.
Oh,
But then the maintenance
Well, there
and
you go.
expense of that is a separate story. So if you then open them up to two separate maintenance agreements,
Yeah, exactly. I think maybe the solution is to widen the driveway at the turn so that an emergency vehicle can get there. Is that possible?
It's kind of like twofold here, or maybe even more. I mean, there's steep slopes there, there's a steep driveway coming down. You could have a much more reasonable driveway coming off of Dill Hill. That's just the topography says it, it screams it.
from that particular item,
Yeah.
it's more reasonable, but from other standpoints, it's less reasonable.
It's about 80 more feet than what
The
you got.
distance,
You have
but also
250 feet.
the
and it's
configuration of the
330.
house being opposite of the neighbors, the backyard being steeper and, less usable. So, from an overall standpoint, we think the access can be improved, A, and B, is certainly within the realm of, a typical driveway.
And so the point I'm making, though, is that you avoid your steep slopes issues that you have with the board here. You avoid fire advisory board issues if you come off of Dill Hill. That's just the reality of it.
all right, so I'm going to suggest you come back to us next month with to show us an alternate solution where you're coming off of Dill Hill, and/or indicate why you absolutely cannot do it. You come up with some better if you have better justification of why it can't happen, we'll listen to that. But I think you should revisit that lot and how you're coming and seeing if you can, because we have a member of our board and we have the fire advisory board expressing concern over your current access point. And so I think if you wouldn't mind going back to the board, back to the drawing board, and looking at investigating an alternate solution where you come off of Dill Hill Road. And if there's a reason why you absolutely cannot, please come back with a justification of why you can. Would that be acceptable?
Oh, I think there should also be the option for the widening of the belly of that curve as another option to see, A, if there's a swing, as Pete mentioned, to get the apparatus in there, and then B, if they could levelize the truck and set up outriggers to stand it, right?
If I remember, it's fairly flat, basically, the lot.
So if it's flat and you're opening up that driveway, that should be a reasonable option too, correct?
If you look at the driveway profile, it's 10% almost until the
No,
very
you're
bottom.
saying it's flat on this
The
side.
whole,
But
yeah,
not
the whole
where
bottom
house
is flat.
right?
Yeah, but you're not going to pull it right up
It's
to the
down in
house.
No, but I'm
It
talking,
drops.
I'm talking right here.
I know.
It's 9.8 to that point you just pointed at, so they'd have to kind of extend it out further probably.
Right.
I
So,
mean, Dan is right, it's, topographically, it's much better coming from Dill Hill Road. And now you're saying their deed actually gives them rights to Dill Hill Road?
that's how I'm reading it. I mean, that's,
It
it
makes
said,
sense, I mean, you're bordering,
Yeah,
said together with all the rights to the roads, to the north, south, and east,
okay.
so.
It sounds like you have rights on Dill Hill Road.
South and east.
So it's an option
Yeah,
at this point.
yeah, I mean, unless he can demonstrate to us that there's an absolute reason why it can't be happening. I think we're finding too many reasons why it can happen. And I don't want to be I want to be sensitive to these fire concerns, And that's just my opinion. But also if there, in addition to what Jason's saying, is if there's a better way to improve the current plan. So I think just if you come up with the alternative plan and how you would improve the current plan, and then provide justification, if you can, why the alternate doesn't work.
how much
Okay.
goes on the back of the truck?
I'm sorry,
How much, if you had to drag 1.5 inches or plus off the truck, how much, I mean, I'm going back in my.
Yeah,
day,
no,
too.
the last I knew that what the lay in a hose bed was like 200 feet.
Okay.
All right, so I think, is that,
That was it for my first bullet point, access.
And that's inch and a half.
Okay.
But I think the rest of it is way more straightforward. Really start out strong there.
Yes.
There's additional plat info that will be provided on the plat. Trees that were added to the plat. The labels were just a little light, so those will be darkened up. Straightforward things like that. The driveway notations will be added based on town code, so that's straightforward. The wetland buffer was added and a narrative provided. That narrative discussed some of the changes to the DEC regulations. Hudson Land Design agreed with us that the new regulations would not apply to this wetland in question, but they are asking us to submit a parcel jurisdiction determination from them, because ultimately they need to confirm that that is the case. And I think that was it. So an extra 10 seconds of updates, so mostly the
All right.
access.
So some of that other stuff, yeah, all right. So you're moving on some of the other items. Dan, is there anything else we want to talk about?
No, I don't think so. I mean, you are entitled to do a site visit like Pete's asking about, so you can schedule something as long as you don't have a quorum, or if you do, then you're not allowed to, it's like it becomes an open meetings law issue, so you can't really discuss it. You can just all observe.
Just drive out there and take a look.
We could talk about the Jets or something like
Huh?
that. We could talk about
Why
the,
would you do that? It's not
we
that
could talk about sports or something. We just can't talk about the application. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, 1 minute, please, and then we'll do the next Pizzuto.
I used to hate dragging out lines of, making that, I used to hate having to drag out
Yeah.
like 100+ feet and then pack the truck. Plus the
Well,
line pressure.
then
the line pressure as
you
well.
drag it out, and then you still can't fight the fire because you gotta add another 100 feet so that you can move around the building.
Right.
If I remember, when you look at it, it's fairly easy to picture in your mind where the house would be and so on. And if you look at it from Dill Hill, you can look up to it right there.
Okay, next item, Pizzuto lot line adjustment.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
We are here tonight to discuss the draft resolution that was presented to us. We had a conversation with the town engineer earlier just to talk about some of the conditions, and where we stand now is that we don't have any objections or comments on the draft.
Can you do me a favor? Would you mind just summarizing your subdivision, because it's kind of complicated, and just give us an overview of it again?
Sure. Try to, as efficiently as possible. There are, I guess, 3 existing lots today. The end goal is to do a lot line adjustment to allow room to build a house down near Frog Hollow Road. And then basically, there's an existing house that we're borrowing land from, basically for the lot line change, that's owned by a trust. This new building lot, not a new building lot, the modified building lot is owned by Don Pizzuto. He's also part of the trust, which created a lot of confusion as far as the process. But the end goal is to allow the building lot and then to allow access to the rear of Don's lot to avoid the crossing the DEC wetland
I'm sorry.
with a new crossing. The plan now, as it exists today, is to use an existing wetland crossing that has been used for 20-plus years, and all that has been reflected on the plat.
Okay, and there's an easement proposed to allow, an easement for, to allow for ingress and egress to the back part of Lot 3
Right.
in the event that it ever gets subdivided out, because Lot number 3 crosses the Metro North, and then it's part of where the house is gonna be, right? It's that little sliver
Exactly,
there.
yeah.
So we've requested of you to install, to have an easement there, to ensure future access to that back lot.
Yes.
Okay. So what are you asking for tonight?
Well, we have the draft resolution in front of you guys, so I'm asking, as politely as possible, to move this forward.
Okay. And that's a resolution for preliminary draft approval?
It would be for conditional final.
Oh, for conditional final,
Yeah,
okay.
preliminary was granted at the February meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I just make one comment regarding my conversations with the applicant's attorney with respect to the deeds? I want to make sure, I've told him in a phone conversation and emails that I'm going to need some sort of advisory opinion from a title abstract company, that the resulting deeds that take place, because there are so many, there are life estates and trusts involved here, the resulting deeds are legal conveyances. So I want to make sure that that's clear.
Okay, yeah, I don't,
I'll have that conversation with him again, but with respect to the condition that was, put into this conditional approval,
right, that's what you'll be looking
this
for.
is, from my perspective, like the key, that it can be done. That it's a legal conveyance. We don't want to get this far. We don't want to go any further until we know that it can be legally conveyed, since life estates and trusts are involved. All right, so as long as there's a title opinion to that effect, it can be done from what I understand, but I want to see it, and I want to, make sure that the title company at least, gives an opinion
Okay,
to that effect, okay?
okay.
It may
So are
be-
you saying to hold off, Craig, or no?
No, you can go forward.
it can be a
It's just going to be
condition of the-
conditional, it's going to be one of the conditions. It already is, subject to attorney approval.
You're just reiterating one of the conditions.
Okay.
This is going to be a condition to final approval, and that's one of the conditions, that you show us the opinion of the title company that these
Right.
deeds are going to be clear.
Are there any other conditions that are significant?
No, I mean, there weren't many comments left in my review letter, but we put that on there, that's a pretty standard thing. And then escrow fees and all that are always shown in there, that they have to work that out with finance before the end of this. Condition 3 talks to what Craig was just mentioning about deeds, the legal descriptions, legal documents related to the access easement that has to be to the satisfaction of the town attorney, town engineer. And then signing a copy of the resolution is one of the conditions, and then once everything is all set, then they have to give us a certain number of copies and go through that. So that's what the 6 conditions are that are on the resolution that's before you.
Otherwise, everything else has been taken care of?
Yeah, it's in good shape on that end, and, obviously, like what Craig is saying is important, of course. That could be a hiccup for them, but they'll have to work through that legally.
That seems to be the primary, I would judge that to be the primary condition.
Well, you can move forward with the resolution. I just wanted
Yeah.
to reiterate and point out what I'm going to be looking for when it comes down to the deed review, to make sure that these are legal conveyances because they're subject to trusts and life, and within those trusts are life estate tenancies. And both properties are not under common ownership, so that's where it gets very complicated.
You okay with that?
I think my attorney is just waiting for the approval so they can move forward. See,
That's-
we actually have the approval from the town, so they've had it for a couple of months already, they're just waiting for the final resolution.
It's going to be conditional.
Yeah. Our attorney brings up these issues because we have in the past given conditioned final approvals, and a year later, applicants come back to us saying they can't meet the conditions. So we definitely want a genuine attempt. We want you to be genuine to us in saying, we're confident that we can meet these conditions.
This week,
Yeah,
next week, or later.
right.
You didn't come this far to come this far.
Yep, it's been a long road for you guys. All right.
Yeah, and there's no possible issue that this could cause for the planning board, really. I mean, you give them a conditional final approval and they can't satisfy the conditions, well, then the project is dead anyway, so
Yeah,
that's all there is to it.
Well, it's protecting, really what it is protecting the people, the property owners.
Right. Absolutely.
so how would a motion, if this is our typical, I'm making a motion to grant conditioned final approval in accordance with this resolution?
That would be an excellent motion.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye? Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, Thank you for your patience. Okay, next item on the agenda is Green Hill Farms subdivision. So go ahead and please make your presentation and let us know the status of your project.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Ernie Martin, the project engineer, and representing the owner applicant, Green Hill Farm Holding LLC. Since we last appeared before this board, we have advanced the plan quite a bit. There were just a few points I'd just like to bring to your attention, and you may recall from the last meeting, there was some question about lot number 2 being a rear lot. Although this lot was essentially previously approved years ago, it was combined back into the parcel, and now we're looking to re-subdivide. The subdivision includes that lot, but what we've done is we reconfigured the lot line such that it has frontage on 2 roads. It has frontage on Beach Road where it gains access, and it also has frontage on Hines Road. However, access, as I mentioned, will be via Beach Road.
Which lot were you referring to? I'm sorry?
Lot number 2.
Lot 2, okay, great. Oh, right, the rear lot, yep.
I was in communication with the zoning administrator. She reviewed it. I believe she maybe even conferred with the town engineer. And I have a memo to the effect that it's a conforming lot as it's shown right now. In addition, since the last meeting, I met with the highway superintendent. We actually looked at all the driveways, both existing and proposed, to see that they conform to site distance or visibility. Lots 1 and then 3 through 7, he had no issue with. Lot number 2, looking left, He did not have an issue, and there's also a site easement in place. Looking right, we actually measured in the field, we had about just under 300 feet. He prefers 300. Although he said if we could have some sort of a driveway sign to alert the motorist, that he would support that driveway location. In addition, if you recall, on the Beach Road side, there's a conifer grove that we're looking to maintain. He did comment and said, you know, you have some brush that probably should be trimmed, not only for the protection of the highway or the roadway itself, but also for overhead fires. I believe, Dan, one of your comments was maybe to put a note on the plan, which we will certainly do. And also, this plan has been submitted to the Health Department. We did receive their first review. It was a very, what I call a very favorable review. And we agreed this week on, being that we do have 7 lots, 2 of which are existing, or there's 2 houses that are existing, we did agree on the testing protocol for quantity and quality. We will be using the 2 existing wells that exist on site. I've also done some research at the Health Department of Parcel Access, and there were 2 previous wells that are associated with this property. I can't say for certainty, but I believe they were probably those lots that were parted off back in the late 90s. And for what it's worth, the testing off the well rate was around 50 to 60 gallons a minute. And the depth of the wells were about 380 to 400.
Wow.
So right now, everything points to rather positive results. So all that being said, I certainly will entertain any questions, but I would hope that the board would consider scheduling a public hearing.
Or,
I'm disoriented.
as I recall, it's generally an open site. Is there any tree removals?
I'm sorry, are
Are there any tree removals?
There's about 2 or 3. I believe it's on lot number 3.
I see.
And I think they are I think they're actually apple trees that probably have seen better days. But yes, we are taking about 3 trees down. We are maintaining the conifer grove as I mentioned.
Great, that's great. There's no disturbance on steep slopes. It looks like you're staying away from the wetlands as best you can.
Yes, the wetlands was delineated in the field, delineated and surveyed in the field, and is as shown on the map. We did have it validated by the DEC. Previously, we submitted a validation map, which I believe you have on file. Assuming once we get to the point where we produce the final Mylar, we're going to have DEC to sign the Mylar again.
Do you guys have any comments or questions for the applicant?
I'm totally confused.
You have a question that I can help you with, or?
I'm totally confused looking at the intersection of Beach Road and Hines Road.
Well, that's because there's 2 that are just like that.
Huh?
There's 2 intersections that are just like that, because you get the one with Clove Valley and Hines, it's all like kind of very
Well,
similar
Clove
areas.
Valley and Hines, as we're looking at the map, would be
That's
at
north,
the bottom of
northwest.
at the bottom of the map, correct?
What's your orientation on your map here? No, north is straight up, so it's Clove Valley and be to the northwest of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is further in, like this
What?
takes you to.
Beach Road here runs
takes you, like,
essentially
towards
east and
Gabriel's and
west.
everything. And this is the offshoot of Hines.
Remind me how many lots did you start with when you first came to us?
Well, there's one 21-acre parcel. We proposed 7, and we're still at 7.
I thought they were like 10 or 12 lots or something at one point.
No, no, it was never that high.
Okay,
Now, there's two existing houses on the property.
yeah.
Right.
We are going to, the main house, which sits further from the road, will be one large parcel, and then the house in front, which is a smaller house, that will be a separate lot.
Oh, shit. This is,
45.
Dioria's property.
Yes, previously.
I'm sorry, I was on the other,
The Clove Meadows subdivision,
yes.
that's what you were thinking, yeah.
All right, so this
That's
is,
what I'm saying, the parcels are actually very similar to each
yeah,
other.
no, this is Diorio's property.
I was looking at it too, because I'm sitting there, I'm like,
Yeah.
initially when I opened the map,
There was a
I'm like, isn't
road
there a
on
big
that one,
pond or something? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a pond there, there's a road on that one. This one's a little different. This one, they're using existing town roads for access. No new town roads. Private roads, for that matter.
Who's the current owner?
Well, it's, as I mentioned, it's Green Hill Farm Holding LLC, an LLC, but the contact person or the principal is a person by the name of James Tupikin. He lives in New York.
Have we declared lead agency yet, do you know, or?
Yes.
I never remember.
Yes, lead agency was at the February meeting.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And the sketch subdivision was granted in November of 2024.
So right now, we just have to schedule do we have sufficient information to go to the public hearing?
Yeah, they've addressed most of the items on 130-20, which is the preliminary plat criteria. And that's, once the public hearing is closed, we set the time clock on that, so it's good that they're in that position that we can, the board would be able to make a decision relatively soon after the public hearing is closed on preliminary.
I'm prepared to move forward. Do you guys have any questions or anything else you want to ask the applicant?
Not at this time.
That's a good answer, I like that. Seriously.
Peter, you feel like we're ready to move towards a public meeting?
What the hell? Sure.
Let's get off far back, right? He's got all the information. So, all right, so
There is, one second though, before
Yeah,
we
sure.
go to public, like, and I didn't dig into this fully, but do we have a tree removal plan before we get started? Because we know that's gonna hit.
Yeah, so
There's
there's
only-
a couple on lot 3, and then most of.
I think
most
you
of the
mentioned that, I'm
lots-
sorry.
Yeah,
I did
the majority of the lot is open right now.
there's like 3 of them here.
Okay. I just know that's gonna come up, like,
It's
soon as we have
mostly
public.
open.
This is the parcel here.
Yeah.
So where you're just looking at is the edge of that right there. That's that conifer grove. There's gonna be a little bit of light brush removal in there per the highway superintendent's recommendation, and then a couple little scrub trees right there. Otherwise, everything else is wide open here.
Okay.
Where's the existing,
The existing houses are coming off of Hines.
yeah, but should be an existing house coming off of Beach Road also.
Those are separate parcels. There's 3 that were carved off some time ago.
Okay, so they're,
This proposal would have 5 new driveways on Beach.
these are the existing lots?
Yes,
One of these was Gino Pulo's, right?
yes. I think that was back the last time it was subdivision in 89, maybe.
Yeah, okay, all right, gotcha. Thank you. So what do you want to do?
I'm prepared to make a motion to schedule a public hearing.
Fine,
I'll second.
I'll agree.
So that would be for the April 17th, 2025 meeting?
Correct. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous?
Okay, that passes 3-0. I had also mentioned in there, you know, when we do this at various different times, the aquifer overlay standards, we're gonna have to go through them at some point. A lot of times we do it between preliminary and final, but it's up to the board. If you wanna do it now, they've provided some answers. If you wanna hold off on it, it's fine as well.
Be addressed at the public hearing.
Could do that too.
I think we'll wait till the public hearing. Is that all right with you? Go over the aquifer standards, the public hearing?
Gives everybody a chance to understand it as well.
Yeah. All right, so if you could just be prepared, do all the things you need to do to prepare for the public hearing. You got to send out the cards to the neighbors. I'm sure you know how to do that.
I'll coordinate with Alita.
Yeah, please.
Please do.
Okay.
Yep.
And
She'll give you the updated list.
what is the official town newspaper?
Get the journal.
Kip's Journal.
Kitty Journal?
Yeah.
Yeah, and just be prepared to answer questions from our public.
Understand. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, there's just one more item, right? Great, Paulo.
Yeah, and also January meeting minutes. You three were here for January, so you could do January.
Oh, I missed that.
But
Review
you,
the minutes.
you can't do December because one of you wasn't here in December.
It was probably
I think it was Jason.
And there's only two of us, so.
Yeah.
All right. The next item on the agenda is Great Paulo East. There's someone here from Great Paulo East.
I did get a text message from the engineer before. He may or may not have a massive leak in his house right now.
Oh.
So he said if he's not here, it's probably because of that. So,
Okay.
You know, the last time I was down, that's Great Paulo Road, right?
Yeah.
John
Kalen?
Kalen.
Yeah.
You know, they cleared the driveway and everything and opened up where the existing shell is, so to speak.
Uh-huh.
But when you driving down Great Paulo, I saw any markers of the various lots. I didn't see them. I thought they'd been removed. I thought he'd given up and was just gonna go with the existing parcel.
On the opposite side of the road, if you remember, there was the,
Not the
it was
opposite.
Ment, it was, the name, it was Rebecca Ment was her name, actually, and they did a house with an accessory apartment. So this board did review the other side of the road. This used to be part of a bigger subdivision long ago. That was both sides of Great Paulo Road.
Yeah, but
That got segregated out.
I thought on the left side of Great Paulo, the concern there was the rock ledge behind it and the steep banks.
Yeah, the board did look at that quite extensively. There was 3 lots that were conditionally final approved. And that's the point of what they're here for, is an additional extension of that conditional final approval.
And what I'm saying is I didn't see any lot line stakes.
They wouldn't have done stakes for that yet, because they don't have a final filed approval. Once they probably get to the point where they file the map with the county clerk, then they'll probably do, some corner stakes.
Okay.
So,
I thought John had given up on it.
No, there's some submissions few and far in between, but they always seem to come as they're coming to asking for an extension, so.
so are we up for an extension at this point? Will it
That's-
expire?
Yeah, they do have, an expiration. I can pull it up here if you give me a minute. Okay, so the last extension, the board granted the last extension at your November 21st, 2024 meeting. And it was valid through, let's see here, March 20th, 2025. So it was a 99, you gave a 99-day extension last time so that it fell on a planning board meeting date. So the previous extension was through March 20th of 2025, which is today.
All right, so do you know if he's making any progress? Is he not making any progress?
I'd probably like to see a little bit more effort of, satisfying the final SWIP stuff. But he has given us, within the last couple of weeks, he gave us another submittal, so we're looking at that right now. And they actually did get into the legal documents as well. So they're slowly getting at it.
What would your recommendation be for length of time?
We'll keep it tight. If you're not getting throughput.
You could. I mean, I also, this is been going on for a couple of years, so.
What's your recommendation then?
Well, what are they asking for?
They're asking for 90 days.
I see.
What do you think, Jason?
I'm leaning on Dan here. I need his
Yeah.
judgment on what's the throughput level that he's happy with.
Okay.
Well, let me see where that would put us.
While he's looking that up, you've done a commendable job tonight as chairman, sir.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Is the meeting date is June 19th would be the meeting date
That's
for June. And 90 days gives them until June 18th, so, I mean, you could,
Can we give him 90 days, but ask him to come in next month?
we've done that before.
We had to change that to the 26th, it's a holiday.
Oh,
Oh, Juneteenth?
oh, yes, Juneteenth, yeah.
Huh.
I did not realize we changed that. Did the board, the planning board change that, or did we, was what was resolved in December?
I think that might have been something else.
Because I think they approved the planning board meeting dates, right? Was that the April meeting? Do we have the meeting minutes for that right there?
I would be okay with granting him 90 days, but having
Give like an update.
our secretary reach out to him to come to the next meeting.
When you say next meeting, you mean the April meeting?
This way we don't have to vote on another extension. Just give him the 90 days and then ask him to come and report to us.
I'll take a look at the agendas online quick. 'Cause
So what's the date in roughly 90 days? You're saying it's not the 19th, it's,
if you did 98, that would bring you to the June 26th date, which Aletha believes is the next, is the June meeting is on the 26th, so.
okay, all right,
So
so,
let me just
Sure.
confirm that if you don't mind.
no problem.
So at the December meeting, you set your 2025 planning board meeting dates. Yeah, so it was already June 26th then. You picked up on that when you suggested those dates. So June 26th is the June,
All right, so I'm
Planning
not
board
going to say
meeting
the
date.
number of days, I'm just going to say to the June 26th meeting. So I'm making a motion to grant an extension to Green Hill Farm subdivision.
No.
Great Hollow East.
Grape Hollow East, correction, Grape Hollow East subdivision to the June 26th meeting.
With the condition.
But they have to show up at the.
And yes, with the, and I'm also requesting that the this planning board secretary reach out to the applicant to be at the next planning board meeting, April
17th.
17th.
Can you make that to say with the condition that?
Or what?
Hmm?
Or what, he loses his extension?
Yeah.
I don't want to put the extension in detriment at this point, and ruin the whole subdivision. He did too much work on it. All right, so that,
All right,
I have a motion out there. Do I have a second?
I'll defer to whatever you two guys want to do.
All right, it's a motion to grant an extension to Grape Hollow East till June 26th, and to request that the applicant be in attendance of the next meeting to provide the planning board status at our next April 17th meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, sir.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 You is hanging.
And you got January 2025 minutes if you want to
Well,
take care of that one.
actually, if I didn't approve, it wouldn't have gone through.
That's correct, Peter.
Because of the, wouldn't have met the.
You would not,
quorum.
yeah,
Right,
that's
yeah.
true.
You could have put a cog in the entire thing, but you opted.
Thanks for hanging with us, man.
All right, so
Did everyone have a chance to review the January 2025 meeting minutes?
No, but I'll help to approve them.
I reviewed them and they were fabulous.
Okay, so all in favor of approving the January, I'll make a motion to approve the January 2025 minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay, I make a motion to, what do we, close the meeting or adjourn the meeting?
Adjourn the meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Thanks, guys. Thanks to the last guy still here.